I had many transformations through that process, but the moment that I broke, and it was a positive break, everyone, I was sitting on the couch and I was in tears. It was with love. And I said, I don't want to ask you for help anymore. I don't want to turn to you in a moment of need. I want you in my life every single experience. I want you in my body. I want you to experience play. I want you to experience work. I want you to experience laughter. I want you to be in my experience, not just something or someone I turn to. And I felt so much love in that moment and so much gratitude in that moment that, I became one again with the universe, one again, because that's what we are.
Hello and welcome to the next episode of Healing Millions podcast. I'm so excited and honored to have an amazing friend, beautiful healer, soul shepherd, my dearest friend, Gail Kraft. Gail, welcome to the podcast. I'm so honored to have you here.
Nina, this is going to be so much fun. I'm so thrilled to be on your podcast to share space with you because your presence, your vibration, your energy is just uh, amazing. It's welcoming, it's warm, I can feel soul to soul conversations going on with us. And so I'm thrilled to share this experience with our listeners.
Thank you, Gail. Thank you so much for being here. Gail, I want to start with your book, Lessons from Hell, that you wrote after walking through the fire of cancer diagnosis. What was the moment that broke you open, and what did you discover on the other side?
Ooh, I think I had many transformations through that process, but the moment that I broke, and it was a positive break, everyone, I was sitting on the couch and I was in tears. It was with love. And I said, I don't want to ask you for help anymore. I don't want to turn to you in a moment of need. I want you in my life every single experience. I want you in my body. I want you to experience play. I want you to experience work. I want you to experience laughter. I want you to be in my experience, not just something or someone I turn to. And I felt so much love in that moment and so much gratitude in that moment that, I became one again with the universe, one again, because that's what we are.
Beautiful, beautiful. Gail, many of our listeners are going through their own dark night of the soul, or someone sitting in the middle of their personal hell, unable to see the way out. What would you want them to know?
That you don't have to do this alone. I did have a network that I turned to immediately, and I tested all of the information I was receiving against my own resonance. And if it doesn't resonate, my answer was no. And I'll give you, a Western medicine approach and an Eastern medicine approach. Western medicine wanted me to remove both breasts. And I said no. This was not necessary. Overreaction. And I had to fight that for a good almost a third of the process until they finally understood that this was my decision, not yours, right? Um, because it didn't feel right. And that was the thing. I wasn't in fear ever. I was really leaning towards the universe for guidance. And the other is on the Eastern medicine side. I got lots of unasked for advice, believe me. And, one of them was dietary, go on a dry fast. And I checked with my body, and my body needed nourishment. A dry fast, this was not the time for a dry fast. And so my response was, thank you for your input. I have guidance from who I have guidance from, and that's who I'll follow. I did go on a specific diet. I did take supplements that Western medicine would have said no to, but I checked in and I followed my heart.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I want to ask you about the whole experience that you went through and how did your connection to your body shift after experiencing cancer, physically, emotionally, or spiritually?
I've always been aware of my body, but not in my body. So, from a soul, for those of you who are spiritually inclined, my soul finds this dimension heavy and doesn't like moving through it. So there are times I'll astral project, right? Then just watch my body do what it's doing. So I got into my body. I had to be in my body, for one thing. Another is that I understood that this thing that some lab diagnosed had nothing to do with cells. It had to do with stuck energy. And so I did a lot of energy work. And literally a stage 2 diagnosis by the time surgery was done. The pathology results said stage 1. So because I was doing untangling of the web, forgiveness and love, and just bringing that pure energy in, and that is the connection to my body of understanding how much I can affect it with my energetic thoughts, and visualization.
That's beautiful. So, what kind of energy work did you do on yourself at that moment?
So I envisioned a tangled web in my breast because that's where the problem, so they say, was. And I started pulling a thread, and the thread told me who it was representing and what it was representing. And so I would say, thank you, and I'm sorry, and I forgive you. So thank you for being in my life. I'm sorry for how I contributed to the issue, if you will. And I forgive you for showing up the only way you knew how. And together we untangle this web we created. And then I would go to the next one and go through the same kind of process of forgiving myself because everything is a co-creation. Nina and I are now co-creating, right? And so I have a role, she has a role in the outcome of what gets produced. And so I have to own the creation of that tangled web. And I could feel the unwinding, if you will, happening. And I straightened out. The web is like the energy. If you think of your energy fields, they're all strands of energy. And so I was straightening that out. So every once in a while, I will go through it. Does anything have to be straightened out today? Right? It's like, let's straighten you out, okay? We want none of this stuff getting tangled.
I think what you mentioned is very beautiful because very often we want to have everything done by yesterday, but sometimes it's a process, takes time. And what you mentioned here is so important because you entangled the whole issue and realized that you co-created that. And all those heartbroken stories that we have in our life, we co-created them in some shape or form. And you said something that is so important. You forgave them. You forgave yourself, you forgave people around you. And that really set you free in that moment, emotionally, physically, mentally,
Spiritually,
spiritually. Yes.
right? The process the world is going through now, it's called ascension, but I call it waking up, cannot be fully expressed if we're pulling the luggage from the past with us, because that holds us down. And so a lot of the work I do now, Nina, is completely contrary to typical coaching.
Mm.
I don't want to know your story. Your story is in the past, right? We need to disidentify and we need to let go of the stories. Think about it as this way. If I say that I'm triggered because of when I was 7 years old, I am not taking responsibility. I am blaming. That is another way of diverting. If I say I react this way because of, and if the second you say because of, you're diverting, right? I'm feeling this way because something just happened right now, and I'm here for an emotional experience. So I'm going to experience the emotion, the emotion. That's what happened during the cancer journey. I'm like, oh, I'm here to experience this. I'm going to walk the walk. I'm going to take in the suck, right? I'm not going to love it, but I'm going to do it, and I'm not going to resist it. I didn't resist it, right? I argued sometimes with the universe and said, really, do I have to go back? I don't want to do this anymore. Can we be done? And, the universe has a sense of humor and just left.
Yeah. You also talk about living in harmony with body, mind, and spirit. What does that look like in real life? And how can somebody begin the journey even if they feel disconnected right now?
I think beginning the journey is, first of all, making the decision that you are, right? And then when something comes up, examine it, get curious about it, right? It's curiosity is a huge, and we hear with a child's mind, but it really is with the innocence of a child's mind. Like, you don't have the answer. You have an answer, but there is no the answer. So look for different perspectives, right? That is so enlightening, because when you start to look at different perspectives, you are able to tap into someone else's point of view. You're able to tap into that kind of energy. And you start to feel yourself and others, right? I now, when I take a walk, now the trees are waking up, right? And I can feel like, hey, leaves are a different color than yesterday. And look at how you're vibrating today. And I can smell the dirt of today, right? All of those senses, start tuning into them, right? And even the icky senses, love them, because you can smell. Some people can't. So appreciate that. And that actually will open up the mind, body, soul connection, because your soul wants the experience.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I think that's so important that sometimes we are so numb. We're walking through life and not feeling anything because we are so disconnected with ourselves. But just taking a few steps and like to feel like how I really feel right now. Feel the air, feel the smell around you, like even if it's hot, like you said, even if you don't like it.
The dog did a poopy out there. I can smell it, right?
Yeah, it's still like a smell, and you are so blessed that you can smell it because so many people cannot do that. And you said something that is so important, it, that we need to take responsibility for our life and not to blame anything, not to blame our stories, not to blame our childhood, not to blame things that happened to us, because we still hold responsibility how we react to that. We can choose to stay stuck in that situation for many years, or we can
Forever.
change that and to really heal that part of us and move on. So in this world that we have right now, where there's a lot of chaos and a lot of things are happening in the world, how can we show up as a conscious leaders to bring more peace and more healing, more love to the world?
Um, for me, I realize that the chaos that we see, that we think is more, um, is just the same amount, but getting louder, because the love that you and I bring to the world, more and more people are doing that, and more people are waking up. And so the what we consider the dark is getting frightened. I'm going to disappear. I won't have power anymore. I won't have control over it anymore. And the light is saying, no, but you don't need it. We're here. And that dichotomy is, you can't have one without the other. And so as a light worker, I work in the dark, because that is also who I am. And I think once I owned terrible things that I did in my life, right? Um, I own the fact that, first of all, like Jesus said, I knew not what I was doing. I knew not, right?
Mhm.
As soon as I became aware, I changed, right? And so it's just being aware and gracious of this is where you're at, and that is loving yourself. This is where I'm at. And you can check in. Is that my higher self or is that ego? Does this resonate? Does this feel right? Or does it feel, what's the word I'm looking for, guys? Like I'm forcing it, like I'm making it happen, right? If it feels like I'm making it happen, then it's ego. If it feels like I still have to do work, but that allows it to happen, then it's your higher choice. And that brings love into the world.
Thank you so much for explaining that. Gail, I know you talk a lot about living in the flow, and you have your crafting the flow formula. Can you please share more about that?
Oh, that's hilarious. So, so I realized that my life as a corporate leader, I was very successful with my team. My team would lie down on the railroad tracks for me. I'm not kidding. I have stories to share about that because they did, because I laid down on the railroad tracks for them. But we worked in flow, and I didn't know at the time that this was flow. It was just this, I called it street smarts. It was following my gut and giving them space to be them. And so I started talking about leadership and flow. And I got a call to be on a symposium. And I have a bunch of questions. I want to be the right person for you, right? And I said, so what is the point of the symposium? Disruption in leadership. Oh, how disruptive can I get? As disruptive as you like. Can I talk about flow? Absolutely. Who's the audience? Leaders in technology. I'm going to, oh, snoozer. So I created the formula, right? So there's a process because of them, right? I'm telling you, Nina, at the end, I had an exercise where people were standing up and they had their name on a sticky on their back. And I would go up to you, and even if I didn't know you, based on what I was feeling, I would write the essence of you on the back, right? And they were doing it. Well, then they created a conga line. They were dancing. These vice presidents were dancing conga lines. That's flow. So, and that is actually my keynote. And that when I work with leaders, because I do, it's about how do you get into flow and therefore get a team into flow and what the benefits are, which is, creativity, innovation, problem solving, and work gets done with ease and grace because people love being there.
Beautiful, beautiful. Gail, what is the one lesson you believe humanity most needs to remember or relearn right now?
Oh, there's more than one. I'm like, I know. I'm going to say this one's going to be a hard one to swallow. This life was created by you, not for you, but yes, for you, but by you. And here's why we're here to experience. So look at it this way. You're going to love this. You're going to love this. You play video games, right? Video games, you start off at level 1 and it's pretty hard, but then you kind of figure out what's the shtick. And you get through level 1 and you get some power ups. You learn something, power ups. And now you can go to level 2 and you choose, yeah, I'm going to continue playing. I'm going to go to level 2. A little bit more difficult. You might have to use your power ups, but you get new power ups, new lessons. And then you go to level 3. This is a video game, a simulation that we've created and have said, I can play that level because I have these power ups, these experiences, and this much love. Because once you're in third dimension is the only place you feel anything but love. Once you get out of third dimension, it's nothing but love. I enjoy. And so this game, and I call it a game of life, is something you created and you said, I did level 4. I can do that level. I have enough experience and I am loving enough that I can go through that. I will share a story with you of one of my clients who remembers making that choice and coming into her mother's womb thinking, I have so much love. I can absolutely do this. She said, Gail, I hit my mother's womb. And I thought, no, no, I can't do this. Oh my God. Right? Because in love doesn't understand the vibration of the third dimension. But that's why we're here, to share those experiences and expand the universe.
I really, really love what you said, and I really love the explanation with levels and level up. I think it's awesome, you know. It's so simple to understand that we created everything, and actually we have everything what we need to live that life.
Right.
And there's a lot of help available to every single one of us.
We built that level. So
Yes.
we put the lessons for us to grab.
Yeah. I think that's the powerful message we want to say to audience. You also talk a lot about healing. What do you wish more people would understand about healing and what healing is and what healing is not?
First of all, you are not broken. You do not have wounds, right? You have stories that you have identified with that is not necessary. And the energy that we create from hanging on to those wounds, those stories, creates the entanglement I was talking about, the energetic entanglement, and actually will create a magnet of bringing that negativity into your body and into your soul. So find someone to work with, because I know I couldn't do this on my own, to untangle and detach from the story that you identify with. And, I am not a healer, because that means I'm identifying with the story. I am not a soul shepherder, because now I'm identifying with the story. But I have gifts that I'm allowing the universe to bring in that I can share with you and walk beside you as you find out who you are and be whatever I need to be. I'm a chameleon. I had someone once call me a shapeshifter, a chameleon. I am what you need in the moment that you need it, and nothing more. And I have no idea what will be said because I'm channeling.
Beautiful, beautiful. I think you said something that is so important to emphasize is that we are not our story, we are not broken, and we need to let go of that in order for us to become a better version of us. I really love what you said and how you said it. And I really love detachment from the roles, from titles, from expectations, because we are not really our title. We are not even our name. We are not anything that any labels that we give ourselves. We are just pure spirit, pure love that came here to experience life. And that's it. Gail, you have an amazing gift, which I experienced firsthand. In your sessions, you help people with dragons. So many people don't know that dragons even exist. Can you tell us more about dragons, why they are here, what kind of support we can get from them, and how they support us in our healing journey?
That's a tall order, but I will start with, what is reality anyway?
Mm.
The first book I read in this realm is called The Initiation. And she talks about her own life from her first birth in Egypt forward. And she talks about her son being sick one time, really, really sick. And she went into his room with the purpose of getting in bed with him to get her energy field around him to help him. And as she walked in, she saw a witch go out the window. And she thought, witches have got to be real, because everywhere around the world, they have witches, no matter what society. Everywhere around the world, they have dragons, no matter what society. So they have to exist at some level that our eyes, which can only see 1% of reality, don't see. But they're there. And for me, the first time a dragon showed up, I was in the desert, lots of vortexes, going around, did a very powerful meditation. It was the spring equinox and a full moon. And when I went back to bed, I envisioned being on the beach and a dragon rising up and taking me for a ride. And he's been with me ever since. Okay, yeah, I know. He's so happy that we're talking about this. And has introduced me to a variety of dragons. And dragons are actually associated with the archangels as well. So they'll work with Michael, they'll work with Metatron, they will work with the angels to carry out whatever needs to be done. They will carry out healing. What Okay, so my angel's job really is to transport me through the different dimensions. And so angels, dragons, spirits, guides, they're here and they're showing up right now because we're transferring into a different dimension. Right now we are experiencing fourth dimension energy. The dragons are here because next is fifth and we need help getting to the fifth. So they will help us get there. If you're like, I'm terribly losing time. If you are finding that you don't know what day it is, you have to keep looking at your calendar. You know, the other day I thought I missed an appointment. I have a monthly client. I missed our monthly appointment. I have to get in touch with him and really apologize. And I looked and we met. But it seemed to me like it was months ago that we met, and it was only like a week and a half. That's fourth dimensional energy because there's no time and space. And so we have to adjust to that before we can go to the fifth and live the purpose is to live multidimensionally. We still want the third dimension experience. We came here, but we want to be able to communicate that and to get guidance along the way. Does that help?
Definitely. Thank you so much for explaining that. I think there's so many misconceptions about dragons and how they can support us in healing. So I really want to ask you a simple question because so many people are going to ask, can I really connect with dragon? Can anybody do it? Or do I have to have a special skills to connect with the dragon?
A dragon is just another guide, just another spirit guide. So we connect, our spirit guides are with us whether we know it or not. Right? One of the modalities I use, I will say to someone, you have 7 spirit guides. One of them is negative. So we're going to say bye-bye and bring in a positive one to help you along. Or you have 7 or you have 8 spirit guides. There are spirit guides that have different roles. The ones I'm talking about have third dimensional roles to help you as you transition in life. One comes in to help you with birth. One comes in to help you with the age of 4 or so when you start to get your own cognitive decisions making. Another comes in around the age of 9 when you start to find your independence, right? And so as you go through the phases of life, a spirit guide comes in specifically for that purpose. And then they hang around as looky-loos, right? I've done my job, but I'm going to hang around because I want to continue supporting this, but I want to watch what you're doing. So they're not there with any wisdom. They're there because they want to share this experience with you. Other spirits guides come in because you need their expertise or you need their help. So when I write, I'm not an author, but I have 8 books I've written because an idea will come to me and my guides will say, hey, we need a spirit guide that can write because she's ready to go. And that's traveling guide will come in and help. Well, that's exactly what dragons are too. They're just a form of spirit guide that are here to support us in our transition, to support us with our healing, to support us with our questions. There are hundreds of different dragons, right? And they are all just love and beautiful. Their fire has a purpose.
Thank you, Gail, so much for the beautiful explanation. And everybody who wants to experience this beautiful session with dragons, I highly recommend it because it's really unique experience. And Gail has amazing skills to make you feel comfortable during the session, also feel supported, loved, taken care of. She's really an amazing person to work with.
Thank you. You got to
Gail,
pet and look in the eyes of your dragon, right?
thank you so much for being here today. We will put all your information in the description below so people can connect with you
Awesome.
and experience this amazing session with dragons because it's really unique. I highly recommend do it because you will definitely love it. Gail, thank you so much for being on my podcast today. Thank you for the work you do. Is there any messages that you want our audience to know before we wrap up this interview?
You know, I have a byline that I use that is, if not now, when? And it's really, really important right now that if not now, then embrace who you are. It's waiting for you.
Beautiful, beautiful. I cannot agree with that more because if we are waiting for the all stars to align to have all ducks in a row, we will be waiting forever. Yeah,
Your
maybe
ship doesn't come in, you have to build it.
yeah, maybe we are going to wait for the next few lifetimes to make it happen. But we don't want that to really take time when, if not now. That's a beautiful message for everybody who is listening or watching. Thank you so much for being here. If this episode inspired you, moved you, touched you in any way, please share it with the people you love because the more light and love we bring to the world, the better world we are going to have. Thank you so much for being here. Until next time, be brave, shine your light because the world needs that love and light inside of you more than ever. I'm sending you lots of love and big hug. Bye for now.